I think Grandmama's itching to make a pie.
Okay, y'all. I'm fixing to do a first. I have made pumpkin pies. I've made sweet potato pies. I have used butternut squash in a lot of different recipes, but I have never made a butternut squash pie. So today, I'm making a gluten-free, of course, because it doesn't have any flour. It's got a little cornstarch, but it's sugar-free. I'm using brown monk fruit, but you can use brown sugar. It's the same. It tastes 3/4 cup, so everything else would be the same. You would just use brown sugar instead of the sweetener if that's what you prefer. So, in this recipe, it's 2 cups of butternut squash. Now, yesterday, I peeled my butternut squash, cut it in little cubes, and I cooked it until it was really soft. And as you can see, it's just pure mush. And it's just, and it doesn't take it very long to cook at all. Okay, so to that, we're gonna add 2 eggs. And I'm not gonna do this with a mixer. I'm just gonna do it with a whisk. So we got 2 eggs. And this is going to be a short video. It's not going to be very long. But I wanted y'all to come along with me and see how my butternut squash pie is going to turn out. I know it's going to be delicious. There's lots of ways that you can use butternut squash, and you can keep it all winter. It stores really well. Yesterday when I was cutting it up, Roy took some, and we were cooking something in a pan, and it had a little bit of grease in the bottom, and he just took and sliced some of it up and kind of like fried it. It was delicious. Put a little salt on it. Oh, it was so good. Okay, now to that, it calls for 3/4 cup of your brown sugar or brown sweetener. So this is a third. It calls for, hold it, let me see. Let me make sure. 3/4 cup. So this is a third. Okay, I was about to make a mistake. All right. A third and a third is 2/3. All right. There. Okay. I got out my 1/3 cup measure instead of my 1/4. My 1/4. So. But I got it straight. Okay, now we'll just mix that up good. And it calls for 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So this is a 1 teaspoon measure, so I'm just gonna put about that much. Now, it calls for 1 1/4 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. We don't care for nutmeg. So I substitute allspice for the nutmeg. 3/4 teaspoons of ground ginger. I'm not going to put ginger in this. I'm going to put a little cloves. So that's 1 1/4, 3/4. That's 2 1/2 thing of nutmeg. That's 2 1/2 teaspoons. So in my little spice blend here, it's got cinnamon, allspice, and cloves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 2, and let me make sure I got this right. 1 1/4 and 3/4 is 2 1/2 is 2 1/2. So I'm going to put 2 1/2 of my spice blend here. All right, let me get this all mixed up good. It sure looks good, my. Let me get this out of the way. All right, it calls for, I think 1 teaspoon, no, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, but I never put a 1/2 teaspoon. I always put a whole teaspoon.
That's because we like vanilla.
Because we like vanilla, that's right. Okay, I'm gonna mix this up. for, let's see, 2 cups of butternut squash puree, 2 large eggs, 3/4 cups of brown sugar or sweetener, your 2½ teaspoons of spices, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, which I put a whole 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and now it calls for 1½ cups of whole milk, but I put 1 cup of evaporated milk, which is the canned milk, and 1/2 cup of whole milk, and then it calls for a tablespoon of cornstarch. So I just put my cornstarch in here. I don't think my pie dish is going to be big enough, and I'm going to just mix it up really well. This looks kind of like the way I used to make sweet potato pies, honey. The consistency of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because mine was real thin, real loose. You know what I'm going to do? Hold on. I am going to... Whew, my dishwasher is drying. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of this. That sure looks thin, but this is the recipe. So, I'm going to see.
She's cheating again.
I'm going to put it in the microwave. Put it on 30 seconds. And see if my spices and everything is like I want it. My sweetener. The rest of my milk. Don't want to lose none of my milk. Okay. And if it's a little thin, I'm going to add another egg to it. This is a big old pie. Good grief. All I've got here is a 9-inch pie crust. It's a bought one. I didn't make this one. And it's a regular one. It's not gluten-free. So, oh my. Let me get a spoon. I'll get one out of the drawer. Those are hot. We're going to close our windows, honey. They're picking peanuts across the road.
That was 30 seconds in the microwave, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They are picking peanuts across the road, and dust is, y'all can't even see out there. It is so much dust. I'm going to do another 30 seconds. Okay.
This is how to tell if your pie is good before you cook it.
I think I'm going to have to add more sweetener. I wouldn't if it was sweet potatoes, but sweet potatoes are sweeter than butternut squash.
Yep.
You can use butternut squash in a lot of savory dishes. So, I got my windows up in the dining room, but I am fixing to go close them. That dust is going to cover my house. I love living in the country, and I love the fields of peanuts and cotton, but when they start picking them like they're doing now, dust is just, it's awful. Okay. All right, I'm gonna taste.
This is her cooked sample.
Oh, it's hot. I'm almost sure I'm gonna have to add more sweetener.
Well, we'll let the windows
That's
stand.
a lot of volume right there.
Mm-hmm. That's about 2 pies, it looks like to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a custard out of part of it. I don't know. That's good. It's hot now, but taste. That's my phone. I'll get it in a minute. Yeah. It's a
Just a
telephone.
little more
I think so.
non-sugar sweetener.
Yeah. So that was about a cup.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm gonna add another egg, just because. not a mixture, just with 2 eggs. Now this is the way I cook. If I think something needs adding, I'll add it. So that was 3 eggs and 1 whole cup of your brown sweetener. Now, if you had used brown sugar, it may have been sweeter. I think brown sugar is a little sweeter than this monk fruit brown here, golden monk fruit. Okay. I got my oven set on 350 back here. And you know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more vanilla, just a little bit. That's probably another half a teaspoon. It's got enough spice, doesn't it? 2 1/2 teaspoons.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. It just wasn't quite sweet enough.
Wasn't quite sweet enough. Yeah. So now, if you use brown sugar instead of the sweetener, taste of it, because I think brown sugar, the 3/4 of a cup will be enough. Okay. Make sure I got that egg stirred up in there good. All right. Now it's a real loose batter. It's not like pumpkin pies that I have made that have a lot more texture to them. This is a real loose. Yep, I'm gonna have enough to make milk.
That's why that cornstarch is in there.
The cornstarch is going to, But you know, when I used to make my sweet potato pies, when I used canned yams, mine was always like this. All right, I'm gonna put it in a 350-degree oven. It's probably gonna have to cook about an hour. But what I'm gonna do with this, I'm just gonna make me a custard out of it, since I won't eat the crust here. So, now, I'm just being very, very careful and gentle.
Is this a gluten-free crust?
No, it is not.
Okay. But we're having company, so she's not
Yeah.
trying to do that.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm just gonna make me a custard out of this.
And that's a good thing for you to remember. If you like the pie, you don't want the wheat at all, whether it's gluten or non-gluten. Just make a custard out of it. And it's just the same filling, you just don't have a bread
You
around
just
it.
don't have the crust. And I'm not a big pie crust lover anyway. I was never a big bread eater, so it didn't bother me at all to give up bread. And if I eat a biscuit, I want it really, really thin. I don't like all that goo in the middle. I'm just not a dumplings. I make dumplings, but I don't like dumplings because I don't like the texture of them. Okay, this is gonna cook probably an hour. I'm fixing to set my timer, and when it comes out, I'm gonna take it out and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. And we may try to cut a piece, but we may wait about an hour. So be back in a little bit.
Grandmama, you are already tasting.
I am. This was my little custard right here that I made, and this is the pie. And the pie is still hot. I'm not gonna cut it, but you can see when I put it in the oven, I splashed some of the pie filling up on my crust and in the bottom of my oven, so I got to clean my oven. But it's beautiful. It's well set. It's a beautiful pie, and it is a delicious. That is so good. Does it taste like pumpkin? Does it taste like sweet potato? It's a flavor all of its own. And the texture is so good. But I'm glad I added that extra egg. But that is the perfect. Come here, honey. Get real close. And you can see the texture of it. Can you see it?
Hold it. I just got it. Yep.
I'm gonna show you. See
Well,
right there?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious.
Really, really
It
good.
is delicious.
Well, I'll be making this again, so I can add this to my pies that I will make during the fall. So thank y'all for joining me. This is my first butternut squash pie. It was a success. I'm glad I added the extra egg and the extra 1/4 cup of sweetener. So y'all subscribe, hit that little notification bell. I love y'all. Share the video, because there may be others out there that want to make a butternut squash pie for the holidays. So I love y'all. See you next time.